Hey, deserving listeners, 90 Day Fiancé. Let's watch.
Drop your head just a little bit more. Nice, beautiful, nice. It's a lot easier when your subject's beautiful. Jealousy. Well, that's kind of cute. Hello, nice.
You're going to hear the real story.
I definitely came into this hoping that...
Okay, so we just overheard Liz saying we're going to hear the real story. Yeah, I mean, it didn't look like jealousy to me from Liz. It looked like being hurt that Ed was shutting her out. Now, I think it was a misunderstanding to begin with that Liz thought that Ed would be helping her to learn about photography while he was trying to work, while he was trying to make good photographs. My wife does this work professionally, and I've seen her work, and I know how hard it is. There's so many things. It's not just taking pictures. You have to keep track of all the technical side. There's so many technical things to taking a good photograph: the lighting, the lens, the camera, all the things. And then so that's one part, the technical side. Also, and there's always something going wrong. There's always like a light that won't go off or a remote that isn't working or whatever. And you've had mistakes in the past where your focus was just off and you get your photos back home and every picture is out of focus. And so there's a lot of worries, and you don't want to waste your time. You don't want to waste the model's time. And then you're also trying to do a lot to manage the subject because you want them to be in a good mood. You've had experiences where seemingly the subject was falling down a spiral of shame and they don't like the way they look or they don't feel comfortable, and it could be very awkward. You want the subject to be happy or to be in the flow. And so when you ask them to do something like, okay, I want you to do this, you want them to feel good so that they can do those things and not only have a happy face or whatever kind of model situation you're going for, but also will work with you, will be cooperative, will be collaborative with you when you're trying to get them to do things. Also, subjects like myself, when my wife is taking pictures of me, Bob, actually we were taking pictures of Bob today, and he's even more so this way, maybe the way I used to be, where my wife's a professional model, and so she understands that when you're trying to get a good picture, it can take a long time. It might take an hour or longer to get everything set up just right, to get the subject just right, to get the lighting just right, to get you in the right space, and you have to take a lot of shots, and then because you bring them home and you look at them, and because to me, I always thought that you just sort of said, okay, stand there, take one picture, and you walk away, and there you have your picture. But it's that one picture out of thousands that you took, and it's a whole process. And so another thing you're trying to monitor is the mood of the subject, because a lot of them will get in a bad mood if you take too long. So you want to kind of go fast. Anyway, so there's a lot of other things, because obviously I'm not a professional photographer. But for Liz, she didn't know that because she's not a professional photographer and hasn't hung around enough of them or something. So she thought when Ed says, I'll show you the ropes, she thought, oh, he's going to take a picture and then he's going to explain a few things and take a picture and explain a few things. And Ed certainly could have done that. He certainly could have, he might have set up that expectation maybe, and maybe that's what Liz is going to refer to. So I think it's not a jealousy thing. I think the show is trying to engineer it that way because they think that's a better storyline. But I think there's a legit conflict happening right here, but it's not that Liz is somehow thinking that Ed and her, because Liz set this whole thing up. This is Liz's friend. I don't think Liz has those jealousies. I don't think Liz, maybe she does, but she hasn't exhibited it, that she is worried that Ed is going to get together with a random woman right in front of her. I don't think that she's prone to that, but I think she is prone to being rejected and made to feel like she doesn't matter.
I was going to learn some techniques, but I'm definitely feeling like Ed is just showing off. I think it's possible that Ed does like photography because he does get to flirt with women.
It looks like she has no neck.
No, you're this.
And then I remember saying this, I'll just say it briefly, that just because someone's a professional photographer doesn't mean that they aren't at least kind of insecure. And at the very least, you, as a photographer, want to protect the subject. And when some rando comes over and says that picture is bad, which you're going to not feel good about as a photographer, and two, to insult the subject right in front of their face, you're protective of the subject. You don't want them to get in a bad mood. Plus, you care about their feelings. So it's just like, no, what are you talking? Like, what are you talking about? That's no neck. It's like, stop it. So maybe she thinks she's helping, but that's not a helpful thing to say in that moment. You could certainly say that later, like, those pictures I wouldn't use, or you could phrase it differently. It would just be like, well, I don't know, there's something off about that picture. How about, I would suggest maybe doing something like this, you know, to say that she has no neck. And do we really think that there's a picture of her that would make her look like she had no, and then of course, you know, Ed has a sensitivity to that insult. So you'd think Liz would know not to say it in that phrase, you know?
Students, I'm training you.
You didn't train me the whole time you were training her. You didn't really teach me anything.
Okay, sorry, babe.
I don't feel like Ed's being a good partner right now.
Oh. So I'm just out of here.
Ed really pisses me off.
Yeah, you know, we only saw a little snippet of it, even in the original episode. So I think it's a case of misaligned expectations that Ed might have contributed to, and that Liz didn't. I think Liz has a hard time pulling back. I think she's shown other examples of that, where I think a lot of other people in her shoes would have been like, okay, I think he's kind of being a jerk face to me right now. I feel a little like a third wheel, so you know, I'll chill out over here and I'll just kind of let this play out, and I don't know, maybe I'll talk with him afterwards, but I'm not gonna try to beg him to pay attention to me right now, because I don't think that's gonna work, and I don't really feel like doing it. But I think she tends to default to leaning in. It could be part of her defense of, you know, at all costs, stay in contact. And that's kind of interesting, actually. There's a lot of evidence of that. Like, at all costs, no matter what the cost to me or anyone else, continue to chase, continue to lean in, always ask for contact, regardless of what's happening, and never checking in with the self.
So the party's kind of wrapping up, and I see a friend of Liz grab her by the arm. I know her. She's a lesbian, and this looks like an emotional fight.
You think? Yeah, I would say most fights involve emotions. So, and what does the fact that she's a lesbian have anything to do with anything? You know?
You're in a relationship with her. Yeah.
Oh, I forgot what he said. Are you in a relationship with her? I forgot how distorted he came out of the gate. So they have this fight, and Liz and this other woman, I think the police were called or something, and it's argumentative. It looked like maybe there was hands-on a little bit. Liz manages to get her out the door or something. Things calm down. Things are calming down at the party. Ed, with his hands at his side, and Liz probably knows that Ed is disturbed, so she's trying to make it up to him somehow. And then he says, are you in a relationship with her? Now, if this is the only time it ever happened, then Liz would be like, huh? No, what are you talking about? But I think Liz 100% knows where this is coming from. She's seen it many times before, and she's like, this is the tip of the iceberg. You know, I've been down this road before with him. I've tried to plead with him. I've tried to convince him. Oh, crap, he's crossed that line. He's now in that zone. There's no getting him back. Fuck it, I'm out of here, I think is what, let's rewind that. Are you in a relationship with her? I mean, my God.
She's a lesbian, and this looks like an emotional fight. You're in a relationship with her.
Yeah, she's like, seriously? Are you in a relation? Yeah, just imagine you're in her shoes, that you're Liz, and you're at your fiancé, what do you call it, the engagement party, and you invite this former, or this friend, presumably this old friend, and some old feelings come up, a conflict comes up, and things escalate, things get real ugly and embarrassing, and this, you know, you would just hope that your spouse would be in your corner, that they would go to you and go like, wow, that person's a jerk face. I'm on your side. Instead, it's that, and because if he was just curious, if he was just like, so were you in a relationship with her, or are you in a relationship? But she knows that question is hostile. That question is certain. That question is he's in his zone. and he's going to start controlling. He's going to start manipulating me. He's going to start abusing me. This won't even end today. This will last a number of days. I've been here before. He's jealous. He's insecure. He's controlling. Holy shit, what do I do? And then she bolts. And then he's like, she's immature. So, well, this will be interesting because let's see what Ed says to this, because I could see a lot of different reactions from him. I'll hold out for some hope, because absolutely there is viable, legitimate hope there, that he would say, yeah, I'm jealous, I get triggered. Let's really hope for that.
And this looks like an emotional fight.
You're in a relationship with her.
Seriously? Oh, go yourself.
No, baby.
Go have fun if that's what you're gonna think.
I'm telling you right now, Liz, until I know everything I need to know about you, I can't marry you.
Yeah, I mean, we've already seen this, but yeah, I think this is very indicative of their life together. I think this happens a lot to them. I think this is a very familiar pattern for Liz. And hopefully for Ed, he recognizes this for what it is. Oh, I just hope that he can see this for what it is.
Leave the ring and pack your stuff and move out. You're not ready to get married. I want to marry you. I want to spend the rest of my life with you, but you're hiding something. And I'm going to find out. I'm going to find out about it. And the way that she was reacting to you.
Yeah, he's certain, and she knew it right from the beginning. I know something's going on, and I'm going to find out. There's something going on between the two of you. I'm going to find out. What? Now, maybe there was something going on, but I would put my money on there wasn't something going on, particularly because she's not bisexual. There's no evidence that she's bisexual. Not that you can't be straight, and occasionally, depending on how you identify, right? But anyway, point is he didn't present any evidence other than his imagination that the fact that she got in this massive fight with someone, that was the only piece of evidence that he had. Okay, so let's hope that Ed sees this for what it is, for his sake and Liz's sake and my sake, because honestly, if he doesn't see it, it's gonna drive me up the wall. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. Let's talk about empowerment. When we feel empowered, we recognize our strengths. When we feel empowered and we experience adversity, we're more likely to see it as a welcome challenge rather than an overwhelming obstacle. And since we're social creatures, we often need help from others to feel empowered at times. We might need others to give us perspective. We might need others to recognize how we might be able to overcome the obstacle. And sometimes the people around us, they're really not that much help. I've been there before. When I went to therapy for the first time when I was 19 years old, it was primarily because none of my friends were very helpful in this area. Sometimes it's really great to talk with a therapist when you want to feel more empowered. Well, that's where BetterHelp comes in. BetterHelp is convenient and flexible and affordable. If you want to live a more empowered life, therapy can get you there. Visit betterhelp.com/Kirk today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Kirk.
Was how a girlfriend would react to a girlfriend. Liz, are you there? That right there is bull.
I mean, it's major insecurities over here.
Do you feel that he is jealous?
Of course. Of course.
You don't think, okay, so.
I think they're both jealous.
But I think she feeds off of him because he has a major insecurities.
That
now.
photography
you just talk
session
about, like,
was.
Yeah, Andres, I think, at least from what we're seeing on the show, speaking the truth there. So Ed said there's some BS. I don't know, they keep editing it. What did Ed say?
There? That right there is bull.
So they edited it. Why do they do that? Just let us see what he frickin' said. Anyway, but at some point he says that's BS, and I wonder what he means by that.
I mean, it's major insecurities
Do
over
you
here.
feel that he is jealous?
Of course. Of course.
You don't think, okay, so.
I think they're both jealous.
But I think she feeds off of him because he has a major insecurities.
That
now.
photography
you just talk
session
about, like,
was for him to show me
No,
how
yeah,
to be a
but Liz,
photographer.
but
he didn't show me one
Liz.
thing.
Yeah. So she had expectations, and maybe Ed had set that up, and Ed should have said, "Look, if I'm going to teach you anything, I can't have a subject there. It's just going to have to be you and me, and we'll just take a picture of a of a lake or something, and I'll show you things. But when I have a subject, I get too wrapped up in trying to help them to pose and all that kind of stuff, and I can't be distracted. Maybe Ed didn't do that. He probably didn't. So yeah, but let's move on to that photography one. That's small potatoes. Let's get to the other one, and hopefully Ed. But it sounds like he's not. I was hoping that Ed would be cringing at himself. He'd be like, "Oh, yeah, that was before a lot of therapy, and I have some insecurities. As I said earlier, I get jealous easily, and yeah, I don't know what was going through my head. It's I was hoping for something like that. I don't think that's going to happen, though."
You listen with 2 ears and you don't talk.
The first thing you need to do is learn how to respect your fiance.
No, it's not. Okay, you're emotional. You're just being emotional. So listen, Liz.
Oh my God. Oh, good. I mean, Jovi can handle himself, but it's that phrase that he says to Liz and to Rose. It's just that superior, arrogant, paternalistic. Someone's arguing with you and pointing something out, and you don't have a defense, so you just say, "You're being emotional." I mean, there's a special spot in my anger towards toxic masculinity and sexism and misogyny that this represents. It's just like, you want to see emotional?
Listen with 2 ears and you don't talk.
The first thing you need to do is learn how to respect your fiance.
No, it's not. Okay, you're emotional. You're just being emotional. So listen, Liz, you're not coachable. You think you know everything.
So, best case scenario, Ed is triggered and overwhelmed, not only by the content, but also by his friend being there and also by being on camera, and he's sliding back into an old way of thinking. And so best case scenario, he's sliding back temporarily, and once he's off the show, he can think more rationally and be less triggered. That's normal. Maybe even in therapy, he's just like, "Oh boy, you wouldn't believe what happened. I just got triggered." I mean, y'all know that. You get triggered and you can't think straight. And there's a lot of stress, a lot of people going after him right now. Liz basically just threatened to leave him earlier. You could argue that it's justified, but you could imagine that being triggering. So best case scenario is when he's calm, he will cringe at both the engagement party thing and what he's doing here, at least to some extent. Worst case scenario is he hasn't changed at all, and his claim that therapy is working and that he's learned something after every breakup, that claim is either extremely minimal or self-deluding, or he's learned things that have nothing to do with what he needs to learn. I don't know. It's disheartening to see for really both of them, because it's disheartening because I don't think things are going to change. I think the two of them are going to suffer for a long time. Now, I'll hold out for the couple therapy. It needs time, and if they stick with it, then things will get better slowly. But yeah, it's disheartening.
No, it's not. Okay, you're emotional. You're just being emotional. So listen, Liz, you're not coachable. You think you know everything. You're as jealous as I am, and I can prove it.
Like, make no sense.
Yeah. You're as jealous as I am. Okay. Fine, she's as jealous as you are. Are you saying that you have a problem with jealousy? Because if that's what we're saying, then how about you focus on that? But yeah, I've seen it enough now that, especially in this season, that he has a set of, it's probably, and Liz would be able to list them out, it's probably like a set of 10 to 20 things that he just rotates through as he is being defensive. You're emotional. You're as jealous as I, or you're more jealous, or you're also jealous. He's already used that one. Or, look, if you don't want to be with me, then don't be with me. Or, he says the same things. None of them make any sense, but to him, he feels like he's winning, he's defending himself, but all he's doing is just running in circles and harming other people and ultimately harming himself.
Treated treating her horrible, like up.
Ed, I want to go back to the engagement party. You had accused Liz of maybe being in a relationship with a woman that was at the party.
Great. Good job, Sean. Yes. Bring it back to that. Don't let a smokescreen go up. Ask him specifically, you thought she was having an affair with this woman. What's up with that? Okay. So let's hope that Ed can be, yeah, I got a problem. Let's hope.
Correct.
And Liz was just shocked that you would accuse her of that.
She was an ex-gay coworker that wanted to get with Liz. And
So
she told me
Ed one day
no,
when we were
several
in the
times.
restaurant,
If they ever broke
you can't
up,
treat her right, it's going to take a real woman to treat her right. And
It's just distortion after distortion. And good for Liz for standing up for herself and setting it straight. And even if, the whole thing is, even if his paranoias are true, it doesn't matter. Because your narrative is that Liz secretly wants to be bisexual or lesbian. This other lesbian wanted to be with her. Both of those things are false. This other woman wanted to be with Liz, and that while you were broken up, they had a fling, a relationship or something. You were broken up. So even if you go with the paranoias, it still doesn't matter. But the stretches that he takes, right? The leaps that he takes, that in frustration, Liz throws her hands up and says, God, sometimes I just want to be a lesbian because just you and all the other men I've been with. He stretches that out with, Liz is a secret lesbian. Then the coworker that says, if you don't treat her right, maybe a woman needs to treat her right or something like that. And Ed interprets that, twists that into this woman wants to be with Liz, is pursuing her, and then sees the two of them having a fight and twists that into a romance. They didn't even show the bit because they showed the bit where Ed says, the fight, they were emotional. They were ... emotional, implying something. But then I think he literally says, it looked like a lover spat is what he says. What? I mean, just imagine that's what jealousy and that's what relational traumas will do. That's what schemas will do to you, is you will shove everything possible into that hole, regardless of its fit or not. Everything just gets funneled into that assumption. And then you blow it up in your mind. And then you go to your friends and you make these reports and they're like convinced because the distortion is so overblown but so confidently stated that you're like, wow, that sounds odd. Why would you be with her? But then you hear Liz's retort and it's just like, really, Ed? Like, that's your claim? Plus, what's the difference? Even if the friend did want to be with Liz, that doesn't mean that a relationship happened. Ugh.
Just shocked that you would accuse her of that.
She was an ex-gay coworker that wanted to get with Liz. And
so
she told
Ed one day when we were
several
in the
times,
restaurant,
if they ever broke
you
up,
can't treat her right, it's going to take a real woman to treat her right. And I would.
Great.
Right? And then that was part of girls' night out, which you would always go.
I thought you weren't jealous. You just finished telling us you're not jealous.
No, it's out of.
Yeah, Jovi. I mean, who would have thought that Jovi and Andre would be the and it's a good way to say it too. He's not, it's combative, but not like terribly so. It's just like, well, that's interesting. I mean, that might be something I might even say as a therapist. I might just be like, oh, that's interesting. So I thought you just said you didn't get jealous,
Liz, do you think Ed has been seeing anybody else since you two separated, since you moved out?
Who knows? They edited it, but I wish Sean would have followed up with, so what are you saying, Ed? Do you believe that do you still believe that Liz had an affair with this woman? And even if Liz did, I thought that you were broken up for a while. So what exactly is the concern? When you saw the fight, what were you exactly worried about? As an interviewer, not as a therapist, I'd really want to corner him in that way and get him to say, well, yeah, I mean, I thought that it was clear that Liz and her had a relationship. So then I'd ask him, so you believe, based on the information that you have in your mind, that without a doubt, or a pretty good chance, that Liz actually had a relationship with that woman, and the fight at your engagement party was what? What do you think happened? And just to hear it, and if Liz tried to chime in, but Liz, just give me a second. I want to get the full narrative that's in Ed's mind. Because then I would understand, because I'm guessing there's a really effed up narrative in his head that makes no sense because he keeps implying a lot of things. Or Ed would say, well, yeah, I mean, there's circumstantial evidence. I don't really think something happened, but what if it did? I'd be like, okay, that's a little different, right? So when you bring up all these points, so you don't believe something happened or you do believe something happened. And really trying to lock that down because I'm really curious. Because if he actually believes in this delusion, you're just like, wow, the distortion is severe. Or does he use it? Because that's another possibility, is that he's baseline's like, no, I don't think something happened. But subconsciously, he is like, I have her on the ropes. I have Liz at a disadvantage. And so I'm subconsciously using it as a way of trying to control her. I'm giving her a message that she shouldn't be with other people and she shouldn't have any friends and she should, so that's another possibility. Or another possibility is that if he could calm down and say like, well, look, I had absolute legitimate reason to wonder about things, but that doesn't justify me jumping to conclusions. It's another possible thing to say. So I wish they would have followed up with that. But of course, the show isn't geared towards therapists. It's geared towards a general audience. All right, well, that does it for that episode. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself and take care of others because we all deserve it. We really, really do.